Hoy es lunes 27 de mayo, ¿ok? Y vamos a comenzar el capítulo número 2 y la semana número 3, ¿ok? We're going to start with week 3 and chapter 2. Entonces, abran el libro en la página 60, la página 60. I'm not sure if I told you this, you probably have figured it out already, that here in My Spanish Lab, this is where you find your e-text up here. You click on it and you can look at your e-text. And this is where you will find some of the vocabulary highlighted, and that means that you can click on it and hear the pronunciation of the words, which is a very good resource to have, okay? Muy bien, el capítulo número 2, la vida universitaria. La vida universitaria, and this you should identify with a lot of what we're going to see here in this chapter because you are college students, okay? So we're going to be talking about college and classes and different classrooms and different activities that you do. Okay, here in the first page you have La Universidad de Guanajuato in Mexico. It's one of the oldest ones. It's really beautiful. I haven't been there, but I would like to. But it's a very old building, very beautiful building and huge. So we're going to go ahead and start. We're going to look at what we're going to be learning in this chapter, the objectives. I don't really know how to scroll this. Okay, objetivos y contenido, okay? We're going to learn to share information about courses and majors, to indicate, we're going to work on the stress in the words, the accents, describe classroom and classmates, relate daily activities, create and answer questions, and numbers from 100 to 1000. Let's see, elaborate on university places and objects, express the verb to be, but we're going to learn the other verb that also is used to express to be, to articulate emotions and states of being, convey likes and dislikes. We already learned a little bit of how to say that in the first chapter. Offer opinions on sports and pastimes. And that's where we're going to stop because we're going to do a little bit of culture as well, okay? So school subjects and majors, the classroom, we're going to get into the present tense of regular verbs. We're going to learn how to make questions, how to form questions. We're going to talk about academic life, the verb estar. We already learned the verb ser. Estar also means to be, but we're going to learn when we use estar and when we use ser. We're going to talk about emotions and states, and we're going to go back to the verb gustar, to like. You already learned how to say me gusta, no me gusta. Sí, muy bien. Okay, so let's go a la página 62. 62. We usually start, as you have figured out already, with vocabulary in the section called comunicación. Comunicación 1. Okay, make this a little bit smaller. Muy bien, entonces tenemos aquí las materias y las especialidades. Las materias y las especialidades. Courses, materias can also mean subjects or courses that you take. And majors. Majors, las especialidades. And so here you have different majors and classes that you can take at school. La arquitectura, el arte, la biología, and most of these are cognates. El derecho means law school. Los idiomas, foreign languages, and that is another word that ends in MA, and that comes from the Greek language. That little thing is not working. Okay, so you learned problema, what else? Drama, and another word that ends in MA that comes from the Greek is idioma. Idioma. El idioma, okay? One language is el idioma, okay? It ends in MA, but it is masculine. ¿Sí? Muy bien. Okay, los idiomas, foreign languages, las matemáticas, la informática, computer science, la literatura, la medicina, la música, la psicología. The first P is not pronounced, okay? Just like in English, you say psychology and you don't pronounce a P. The same thing with in Spanish, psicología, okay? Muy bien. Entonces, you can click here.
La arquitectura.
And here how they're pronounced.
El arte.
Muy bien. El arte, la biología.
La biología.
Muy bien. Okay, so work on the vocabulary some. Here you have other words. La administración de empresas, business. El curso, la pedagogía. El periodismo, el semestre. Okay? So you can be thinking about what your major is and find the word that identifies your major and what words you can use to talk about what you are studying. Muy bien, vamos a la página 63. En la página 63, all you're going to do today is mainly work with vocabulary and familiarize yourself with vocabulary, okay? Tomorrow we're going to get more into verbs, but today you have to practice with this new vocabulary that you're learning, and a lot of them, like I said before, are cognates, so it shouldn't be too complicated, okay? Muy bien. Here you have a word, administración. Remember that anything that ends with ción, with a C or with an S, is feminine. So you have la administración de empresas. Muy bien. You are going to be doing an activity in my Spanish lab with word stress and accent marks. Okay? It's not here in the book. It's not explained here in the book, but it will be in your activity. See? So you're going to do the activities in the e-text, and if you're doing hangouts with your partner, you are going to do, let me see, number 2, 2.3, 2.3, the next one, en la página 64. You can do this with a partner, okay? You are also going to read about las universidades hispanas. The education system in Latin America is very different, especially in universities. Students who enter college start taking subjects from their major starting from the very first day, the very first semester. There is no such thing as taking general education classes. Like, you have to take science, and you have to take foreign language, and you have to take art, or, different things like that. And the reason is that most students, when they're in high school and even elementary school, middle school, high school, they do take those subjects outside of school. In school, you do have like PE, but it's 45 minutes of just doing some physical activity. But schools don't focus on sports, specific sports, and much less in competition. They are very focused on academics. Okay, like well, not English, but Spanish literature, math, and science. But most kids attend other schools outside of school, like art school. If you want to learn to play an instrument, you go to a music school. If you want to learn a foreign language, you go to a language school. If you want to play a sport, you join a sports club, and you play the sport that you like. So most kids do that. Like pretty much everybody does that. So you do get education other than the education that you get at school. The schools focus more on the academics than the extracurricular, and so do universities. Okay, if you want to do extracurricular things, you do that on your own, and most people do. It's a very common thing to do that outside of school. Okay, so you're going to read some about las universidades hispanas and do a little activity in my Spanish lab. Okay, so more vocabulary for today. La sala de clase, the classroom. This is vocabulary to describe your classroom and also the classmates. ¿Sí? Entonces tenemos el profesor, and if it's a woman, it would be la profesora, la pizarra, la tiza is chalk, okay? I don't know how many schools still have chalk, but That's what it means. La tiza, la silla, el borrador. Borrar means to erase. So this is el borrador. El cuaderno, the notebook. El escritorio, the desk. La mochila, el lápiz, el estudiante, or I mean la estudiante, it's a girl. La estudiante, and if it's a guy, it's el estudiante. The word doesn't change, it's the same one. El bolígrafo, la pared, the wall, la ventana, el libro, el mapa. There you have another word that ends in a, but it's masculine, so that's another exception. El mapa, okay? It's not la mapa, it's el mapa. Y la mesa y la puerta. Okay, and I think you have a little bit more here. Otras palabras, los apuntes, la compañera de clase, el compañero de clase, la composición, another word that ends in sion, and it's la, el examen, el papel, la profesora y la tarea. Okay, so this is all vocabulary, okay? So you're going to work with that for today. En la página 66, you also have activities that you're going to do in My Spanish Lab. And don't discard everything you learned in the previous two chapters because everything is coming back, okay? The verb tener, here you have an activity that you're probably going to do in, yes, you're going to do in My Spanish Lab. With the verb tener, okay, the verb ser is going to be used all the time. So don't just discard everything and forget about what you learned because everything comes back. Okay, it's like putting together a puzzle. Everything has to do with everything. Okay. Some vocabulario útil, useful vocabulary. To describe the classroom, you usually say, well, there are 30 desks and there is a whiteboard. Okay, to express the idea of, there is and there are, we use this little bitty word here, I, the H is not pronounced, I, and I means both there is and there are. So in English, you have two ways of saying it, depending on whether it's plural or singular. In Spanish, you use I, and it doesn't matter if it's singular or plural. You're going to use the same word. For example, you're going to say, hay 25 mochilas, that's plural, y 3 ventanas. But if you were saying there is one table, you would say hay una mesa. So it doesn't matter if it's singular or plural. You're always going to say I, and I means there is or there are. Okay? Muy bien. Entonces, en la página 67, do we have anything here? Well, this is another activity that I think you're going to do in my Spanish Lab. And tomorrow, mañana, vamos a estudiar el presente de verbos regulares. Okay, so starting tomorrow, learn your vocabulary, practice with your vocabulary, and then tomorrow we're going to get into the present tense of regular verbs to talk about daily activities. Okay, this is the name of the tense. Presente indicativo, okay, of regular verbs. We also, just like in English, we have regular and irregular verbs, but we're going to be working with regular verbs, okay? Muy bien, entonces hasta mañana. Chao.